Hi, Honey Family, and welcome back to another Storytime video. I do hope you've enjoyed these. Only 2 stories for you tonight, but I think that they're really good, and I hope that you enjoy them too. So sit back and enjoy the show. Story 1. Roger. I had a good friend, Roger, and he was diagnosed with a terminal illness. We were so close, like brother and sister for many years. Both he and his sister were adopted as newborn babies. We leaned on each other through life's good times and bad. And when I found out that he was ill and going to die, we spent much time discussing that and many other things. My life was very busy at the time. I was a new mother, and we made most of our communications by phone. We both were also kind of avoiding seeing each other. He had lost a lot of weight, and he looked really bad. He didn't want me to see him like that. I, on the other hand, was kind of afraid to see him like that. Afraid to face his inevitable death. The death of my best friend. So we carried on by phone, to our mutual satisfaction. I asked him how long he had, and he said maybe a year at best. He called me every day, 2 or 3 times a day, just to talk. One day, we got into a discussion about the other side, about what would happen when he passed, and he jokingly told me that he guessed he'd be the first one to find out. I told him if there was any way to let me know if there was another side to do so, and we agreed, but we didn't say anything specific, just that he would try to let me know. I told him not to be making any physical appearances to me, because he'd sure scare the heck out of me if his ghost just sort of popped up in my bathroom or something. As you would expect, time marched on, and one day he called and told me about this dream he had had the night before. He said he was sleeping, and he was dreaming that there was cherub-like angels floating around his head. He said that he woke up and looked at the clock, and it was midnight. He went back to sleep and began to dream that his grandfather was there with him. He woke up and looked at the clock, and it was 1 a.m. on the dot. This continued a few more times. Each time he'd wake up exactly on the hour. The revelation of his dream was frightening to me, because all the people he spoke of seeing were deceased. He had a twin brother that died at the age of 3 months. I relate this to the angels he thought he was seeing. His grandfather had died at the ripe old age of 90 just a few years before. I was pushing the thought out of my mind that his time was coming near, and his loved ones were coming there to comfort him. It had only been 5 months since I found out that he was ill. He couldn't be leaving me so soon. A few more months passed, and the calls went on as usual. In October, I got a call from him on Monday, and the first thing he said was, "Guess where I am?" The hospital. On that Thursday, I got another call from him, and we had a long conversation about our friendship and how unlikely it was that it had lasted so long, how we met, our family, our friends, funny things we had done along the way. And after the conversation was over, I thought about it, and I knew that he was saying goodbye. I felt a rush of anxiousness. My mind was spinning. He can't leave me, not yet. The next day I called the hospital, and I got a pre-recorded message that the patient did not want any phone calls at this time. My heart was sinking. I continued to try to call all day and kept getting the same message. While I was trying to call, my friend was dying. The next day his father called and gave me the news I'd so dreaded hearing. The next day I was home alone in the house, and I felt his presence very strongly. I was in the kitchen and walked by the bedroom, and I saw a figure standing there. I was so shocked that I actually jumped back and drew a quick, deep breath. I started shaking and yelled out in fear, "Roger, if that is you, stop doing that. You're scaring me." After that, I felt calm. I attended his memorial service, and life moved on. My husband went to help his father clean out his apartment. My husband made a funny observation. He said that when they were done there, it was like just a small pile of things left, of all the things my friend and I had enjoyed and shared together. He said it was like that pile of stuff was left just for me. But my husband didn't want to ask for it, so we just left it. We were given his watch and his famous sunglasses, and that was good enough for me. Little things started happening, like our home phone started calling random people, friends and family. But of course we were asleep and no one would be on our line when the other person answered. Or things would be misplaced or disappear and then reappear. I always chalked these little things up to my Roger, just letting me know that he's still hanging around. A year or two later, I called his mother to wish her a Merry Christmas, and we got to talking about Roger, and I told her about a dream I'd had a few months ago. I told her that I dreamed we were in a big white house on a hill. The house was illuminated in white, and everything was perfect and clean. Outside, the sun was shining brightly, and I was sitting down talking to Roger. It was a very calm and peaceful feeling. I was crying in my dream, telling him that I was sorry that I never went to see him while he was dying, and that I wasn't there to comfort him. He was comforting and consoling me. He looked so healthy and vibrant and happy, and he kept telling me that he was very happy and that he was okay, that he was at peace in his big white house on the hill. When I woke up, I was actually crying. His mother was taken aback by this a little bit. She told me that when he was a little boy and she was trying to explain to him that he was adopted, before she could finish her explanation, he said, "Mommy, I know where I came from. I came from a big white house on a hill." And that about ends my events surrounding my friend Roger. Story 2. The Train Trestle. My story happened at an old railroad trestle bridge just out of the town where I lived with my parents. Now, the area we lived in was a decent-sized neighborhood, right on the edge of town. 100 yards from my house, our street turned to gravel. It was the end of the city road care. The road went between tall trees on either side, and that in itself was pretty spooky. But a half mile down there were railroad tracks on a spooky trestle bridge. Over the year, the town freaks would party there and spray paint satanic stuff all over it. They always said it was haunted, but we all just thought they were freaks. The story was all over town that the bridge had been used in the past by the KKK to hang people from because it was convenient out of the city limits. Anyway, my friend and I, we were never really afraid, and we'd go there to hang out and talk. We'd go there often. It was pretty close to my house. We drove under it, turned around, and parked in a wide spot in the road. Then we'd climb up the trestle and start talking. It was a full moon, so we could see the white gravel very well, though it was very late. Soon we heard footsteps on the gravel and thought a deer was close. We threw rocks towards the noise to try to scare it off, but the steps just stopped. For the next few minutes we talked, still hearing the steps, still thinking it was an animal. Soon we both stopped and listened. It seemed the sound was coming right in front of us, below us on the road. We thought we should be able to see what it was by now, because the white gravel was very bright in the full moon. Soon we began thinking something very strange was about those steps. Then we realized that they were very definitely coming from something walking on 2 feet. And then the freakiest thing happened. The noise sounded definitely as if it was walking around the car, our car. The sound muffled as it walked behind the car. We freaked out and had absolutely no idea what to do. We saw absolutely nothing there. But when we threw rocks by what we thought should be the location of the noises, they would just stop for a second. We finally decided to jump off the trestle and bolt for the car. We weren't really listening for the steps then, and I, unfortunately, was too scared to look in the rearview mirror as we hopped in the car and peeled out of there. I say that because later, a friend said he was driving down that road and he was passing under the bridge. He looked in his rearview mirror and saw a man chasing his car. Yet he looked more like he was running from something instead of after the car. The freaky thing was, my friend was too scared to stop. He just pressed the gas and kept going faster. The apparition stayed exactly the same distance from the car, about 10 feet from the bumper. and then just disappeared while my friend looked at him through the rearview mirror. I cannot go back there at night, and I can hardly stand to be there during the day. The place gives me bad feelings, and I just can't shake that.